Are we staring down the barrel of new all-time highs in Bitcoin? And does the gating and freezing of funds that we're seeing everywhere across the world have something to do with this? We are on the precipice. What sound money advocates, Bitcoiners have been talking about for a long, long time. 16 years, and really decades, to be quite honest, quite transparent. Decades in the making after 1971 breaking of that dollar. So I'm not the only one, breaking of the gold standard. I'm not the only one. Again, you can see all-time highs almost touching here, but we are about to be off the races. This is where every cycle has come in the Bitcoin space to this inflection point. We're, again, cycles don't repeat, but they do rhyme. And again, I'm not the only one saying this. We've been talking about this for a long time here on this channel. If you've been here for a long time, the people we've been interviewing, but we also have the likes of people like top money managers, James Lavish. And here is James just, last night, yesterday afternoon, saying, I've said it before and I'll say it again. When institutions start buying Bitcoin, they will not be price sensitive like you and me. They will simply look at their portfolio and decide on an allocation, then give the order to the trader and say, go along with the volume for however much they want. $1 million, $10 million, $100 million, or much more to get their position. It is because of this dynamic that when multiple institutions enter the chat, Bitcoin itself enters price discovery. As demand searches for volume, volume in turn searches for price, whatever price that may be. And just for a little context as well, price is made at the margins. So it's not, like when you sell a home, it's not that all homes are all the same value at the same time. It's only what the marginal person at the end of the spectrum is willing to buy or sell that house for. That's what makes the price, the comparables for the rest of the market. So that's why this is so incredibly important to understand. And this is what's happening in the Bitcoin space as well. And this is what's about to happen because we are in a position where we're about to enter that price discovery. And James is not the only one. You have the global fiat system cracking everywhere. And the debasement trade is obvious. The debasement trade. We have people like Muhammad Al-Arian, people that are the biggest asset managers in the world, talking about this trade and talking about that Bitcoin, gold, and silver will be the trade going forward. And again, as we've been saying for who knows how long. I mean, just this channel alone, I spun it up 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and started talking about this and rerouting my entire life from real estate, from raising money in real estate and helping people buy and sell homes and investing in homes and getting into real estate investments and managing those to routing around because I could see it as a business owner and as an investor. I could see that everything correlated to one. Everything was coming to the Bitcoin as the global trade. It is money. And I think that's what's so hard for the average person to understand. Bitcoin is money. It's a new protocol. It's a completely outside the system. And what confuses people, and we've said this before, is that Bitcoin has a fiat price. So it makes it very hard for the average person to understand what's happening. That's why we have so many issues. And that's why, quite honestly, among other things, capital gains, these other things, that's why adoption is slow. It's because we have a world where it's hard to understand. We have to think multiple things are at the same time. Opposite things are true at the same time. But again, Bitcoin is perfectly finite. Your time and energy are finite. And when you connect the two, Bitcoin naturally becomes the wealth magnet that sucks value out of every other asset on earth. And this is what I want to touch on here today as well, because it's not just about this debasement trade and protecting yourself from inflation, but it's also mooring yourself, rooting yourself, your life into this bedrock of society and a capital structure. And also, how do you build a society, an economic system? How do you build your family? How do you build everything on top of fiat sand? You cannot. Again, the Bible tells us that as well. You cannot build your life on sand. It is impossible. And in the short term, it might be okay for a day, for a year even, or maybe even a decade. The problem is the average person cannot go along decades from now, hundreds and thousands of years from now. Your family can't perpetuate on a fiat currency, on sand. This is why empires all throughout history have collapsed over and over again because they go through this debasement trade thinking that they're doing the right thing. Oh, we're just doing capital controls. Oh, we're just freezing your stuff. It's just for your benefit. It's just for your well-being. How many times have we heard that? They're too big to fail. All these euphemisms, all these tropes, and it's always the poor middle class that take the brunt of it. Fiat assets are trending to zero. Bitcoin is finite and perfectly engineered to absorb the global monetary premium. This is what is so critical to understand. Weeks, months, years. That's when it's happening every single day. The dollar is down 9% since 1913, since the Federal Reserve was created. It's down 99%. And then the average person sits here and says, "What do you mean, Brandon? The dollar's here. The dollar's here." Are you serious? Is that serious? And then on top of that, you take that fact alone, and then you look at how are we funding all these wars? How are we doing these things? Who voted on these things? Who voted to keep being at war for 20 years? Who voted to spend $7 trillion and to lose thousands of our men and women and to lose hundreds of thousands in the Middle East? Who voted for that? Who is voting for this? We need to start voting with our voice, our feet, our wallets mainly. That way it doesn't even come to the ammo box and the ballot box. We don't want those things to happen. Those are the last two. Those are traditionally the two things that people had. But we have our voice, we have our feet, and we have our wallets now. We can defund the system by trading and selling our dollars for Bitcoin. So I want to touch on this here today because we are on the precipice of whether it's tomorrow or whether it's the next week or it's a month, or this is inevitable. Bitcoin is guaranteed to go up because it's finite. It's perfectly fine. It's the only finite asset compared to your time on Earth. Think about that. I mean, really sit back and think about that. It's the only asset we know of that's perfectly finite compared to your finite time and energy. That sounds like a pretty good store of value, pretty good thing to use as your monetary exchange, your unit of account, everything. So we're gonna touch on this here. This is why this is so important. This is why all-time highs are inevitable. And then guess what? It'll be 130. And then the new all-time high will be 140, 150, and then it'll be 200. And then it'll be 300, and then 500, and then a million. And it'll keep eating away at the whole system. This will constantly be a conversation until eventually it's eaten all the premium in the entire system. And eventually it's accounted for every dollar in the system because it is money, because it is the only real money humans have ever had. The only one that doesn't steal from you and doesn't have an inflation rate. Again, when the average person starts grokking that, starts understanding that, we enter a different world, literally a different world, literally and figuratively. I want to touch on Blackstone too. In 2022, they gated funds multiple times. I got to find this. We actually did multiple videos on this. Cyprus in 2013. This has been happening for a long time. Again, like we said, freezing funds, capital controls. Emperor Diocletian, thousands of years ago, had the Edict of Prices and a massive book that talked about, everything that he was going to do. This massive book, then that thick, that talked about all of the prices, everything that you needed to charge people. And then people weren't doing that eventually. So then he said, well, it's by death. You have to do this, or you have to go in your family's business. And people still didn't do it. And then he said, okay, it's by death. If you don't do this, then you will be put to death. And so it just goes on and on. And this is how this process works. It constantly goes to the same exact thing over and over and over again. So let me find this. So this is the videos that we did back, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, almost 3 years now, 3 years ago now at this point, talking about the gating of funds. And people, this is what's so wild. People keep coming back in. People keep coming back into the fund. And again, I know some of it is there's rules and there's, but again, how are there not 1% of the people in these funds saying, whoa, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm pulling out. And the problem was they were pulling out. People were pulling out at that time, so much so that it was triggering the freezing and gating of funds at Blackstone. And these huge, semi-liquid, not very liquid, illiquid real estate funds. And that again should show you that your currency, it's, as Tony Yazbek says, it's for theft and control. That's what fiat currencies are for. It's there to pause your, whatever it might be, your insurance brokerage, your brokerage itself, your stock brokerage, your bank account. All these things are designed to keep you at bay. If people are dependent on the government, then the government has control, right? Then the people are scared of the government. But if the people have control, if they have self-custody, if they have their passport core, and they have their seed stamped in their 12 or 24 word seed plate, then guess what? You have control. Government's scared of you. So that's why this is so incredibly important. We are at the time that tribe men sold. So we've been talking about this for years. And this goes back, my real estate channels, which I don't have pulled up. We talked about this. This has been going on for so long. And it's this lie that's perpetuated over and over and over, forever and forever. So we're getting through this, though. We are getting through this, guys. We're in the right side of history. M2 is going vertical. So I have a chart here to pull up about M2. And it, really, for all intents and purposes, going vertical right now. And this is the great absorber of liquidity is Bitcoin. And that's why, so let's get a definition really quick. Global M2, just so people know, is a broad measure of money supply encompassing cash, checking deposits, saving accounts, money market funds, and other near money assets. So, it's a broad definition of all the liquidity out there in the world, all the cash sloshing around, for more or less, for a better phrase. So let's go to where we are talking about Ash Crypto, talking about global M2 liquidity hits new all-time high. So you can see the divergence here. Obviously, Bitcoin's price going down. You can see how correlated it is, obviously. And again, this is your time and energy. That you can't just if we could just provide wealth for every person just by printing, then why isn't this worked then? Why isn't all this printing worked? Right? That time and energy must come from somewhere. So printing of money, printing of currency has to come. That time and energy has to come from someone. Someone has to provide that time and energy, that work, that proof of work, in order to give that currency value. And that's exactly where things have diverged. So Bitcoin will soon follow, like he says here. This is from a month ago, and now starting to see it. We're starting to see things start to uptick. So we got a ways to go, and it's going to continue going. And that's why this is not some get rich quick scheme. It's a defund the system, get rich for sure over time scheme. That's what we're running here. It's a sly roundabout way around the system. The system, George Washington and the boys didn't go, well, they tried to go to the king, and they tried to say, hey, can we get our freedom, and can we just do this the easy way? And he said no. And that's generally what happens. The rulers don't like people asking for their freedom. And that's, for many reasons. I mean, one of the big reasons is that the rulers a lot of times generally were fairly smart people. They're intellectually smart, stuff like that. So they thought they knew best. They think they know best, and they think they're protecting you. I mean, we have to admit that actually is the truth in many cases. Now, some of it's evil, but also some of it is just people think they know better than others. I mean, we all have that to a degree. We're human. Some just have it more than others, and that's why we get into these messes. So this is why we have the answer now, and this is why this is so important to understand this. M2 is going vertical. We have to continue printing because we're in an inflationary system. It's an inflationary system that cannot have deflation, meaning all the free market is deflation. Deflation is prices coming down, competition, creative construction, capitalism. It's prices coming down. You think of your TV 20 years ago, the old adage, and it was $10,000. Now it's $100. Same TV or whatever. That's even outdone. The deflation is outdone in that technology. It's so cheap now that it's even outdone the printing of the currency. When you think of a lot of other things that have gone up in the currency, the nominal price, the number that's attached to it. And that's how much deflation there is. But because we're in a debt-based system, when there's not real equity in the system, you have to print in paper over all of that deflation. So just think about the last 15, 20 years, how we've had a massive acceleration in debt. It's because of the technological process. But also we're at that end game where we've been bailing out the system so much that now and then the rates have been moving, rates have been going up. So now you need to keep creating more currency to print over that even further. And again, not to get into weeds with all this, but the most important thing you can do is to go take your dollars, trade them for a finite asset equal to your finite time. Take a couple clicks, put it into cold storage. It literally takes a couple minutes. Get your Passport Core, put it in titanium, go to Stampseed, go to Passport or Foundation, go get it takes minutes. And it's $1 to invest for generational wealth because this is happening. I mean, Bitcoin had no price 16 years ago, zero. And now it's $123,000 per Bitcoin. I mean, think about where we're going. Do we think the trend is your friend in investing? Do we think that's going the other way? Do we think that's going to reverse all of a sudden? Do we think the debt is going to reverse? I mean, that you can just track debt. The debt of the country will pretty much show you where the Bitcoin asset itself will go. And that's just the monetary value being sucked into it. So this is where we're about to get into. This is why this is so important. So let's look again, legacy assets, homes, stocks, bonds. They're inflated with monetary premium. People treat them like bank accounts because fiat is dying. They can't just put their money in a bank account, their time and energy in a bank account, because they're not getting anything from it. So they have to go out and gamble and risk it all in stocks, et cetera, et cetera. But over the next couple decades, all that premium gets drained back into Bitcoin. It gets redistributed back into Bitcoin as education increases. So what does that mean? Houses come down closer to their utility value, price to earnings ratios in the stock market collapse back to sanity. Ordinary people, for the first time in generations, will actually be able to afford a home. This isn't doom and gloom. This is the correction back to truth. It's the correction back to truth. Now, here's where most people get distracted, though. They chase IPOs, they move cities, they try to network their way into the right deal. They spend 10 years trying to beat the system, and you can do that. You can go hobnob, and it's not what you know, it's who you know. You can do all these things, network and Toastmasters clubs and all these things to try to go get ahead and get in an IPO deal, go to Silicon Valley, move there, move to Wall Street, try to get in the biggest deals in the world. You can do that, but the average person can't, right? 99% of people can't do that. But again, remember this, fiat is the Titanic. It doesn't matter how much you hustle. It doesn't matter what you do, how much you put on that ship. It's still sinking. It doesn't matter how much you rearrange the deck chairs. It's still going 12,000 feet under the water. Period. End of story. That's where fiat is going. All of human history has showed us this. Every single year of human history has showed us exactly that. Think about that. Think about that. And thank you guys for being here today. I know this is, we're getting better and better at this thing, by the way. We're probably going to be going daily at some point, just FYI. I would love your thoughts, comments, opinions, quick side note on what you want to see going forward and how you want the show to operate. I've got some good ideas here, but again, I appreciate you guys on a Friday night here doing this with me. This is just have to do it. Have to get these things off my mind and feel compelled in here to say them. So I appreciate you being here, because that means you do too. And that's what I really appreciate, because 10 years ago, I didn't think anyone thought like me. So I really appreciate you and the Bitcoin community and the sound money community at large, because there are people out there. There's a lot of people out there. We only need a couple percent to move the needle. Politics is downstream from culture, and really just people in general are downstream from culture. So if we can move the culture, everything else changes. We only need a couple percent. So meanwhile, the person who simply stacks Bitcoin steadily beats 99% of the hedge funds. And this is played out multiple years. Again, you don't need to be a gambler, a risk taker in order to get ahead. So don't confuse activity with progress. Don't have that activity bias getting you all crazy. Convert the cash you're saving into Bitcoin. Build your lifeboat now. Now's the time to do it. So how do you do it? How do we do that? Well, that's the question. That is the true question. Well, I'll tell you, it's a really convoluted process. Super, super convoluted. It's buy Bitcoin, go to the exchange, buy it, move it off the exchange, couple clicks, move it off into cold storage, your Passport Core. Again, our one of our sponsors of our show, and protect the seed phrase. Stamp it on titanium. The 12-word or 24-word seed play. That's it, guys. Not paper. It's super easy. It's a super complicated 3-step playbook that gives you sovereignty, security, and generational wealth. It is that simple. You can go anywhere in the world with that seed phrase in your head, and you become ungovernable. It is that simple. It is okay that it's that simple. And I think that's part of it too. Activity bias. We think we have to have 180 IQ, and we have to be the smartest person in the room. We have to invent something. But it's Occam's razor. Almost always, the simplest answer is the right one. I mean, really, when you get down to the core essence of it. In a minute, we'll do some Q&A. If anyone's got some questions, so put them in here. And speaking of cold storage, today's show is brought to you by Foundation, as always, devices, Passport Core, and the new 12-word seed plate by Stampseed. So go check these out, guys. This is literally, it's a couple bucks. You can get some, you can support the show here and what we're doing and time and energy we are putting into to put it on, to do the interviews, and go to stampseed.com go to stampseed.com and put in code Brandon for 15% off store wide, and then go to foundation.xyz/Brandon for $10 off your wallet. So go check those out, guys. This is paramount. This is not about buying a product. This is about securing your lifeboat for your family. We partner with people who have the freedom ethos, period. We will not compromise. We are in the fight of our lives right now. You might not like war, but war likes you. And this is why I can't stand ship coins. This is why I can't stand the gold and silver crowd. God love these people. They're humans. So I love them. But I can't stand putting our time and energy into anything that isn't going to get us the end goal that we need, that 8 billion people need. I can't stand it. Like, I literally can't stand it. It is so beyond annoying. Everything distracting from Bitcoin is a dead end and wasted energy. It's just rearranging deck chairs in the Titanic. It takes a 1 second decision, 1 second, by a couple percent of society. And we drag the discourse, we drag culture our way, and then everyone is on a level playing field. I mean, think about that. It is literally a 1 second. And that's why at the end of the day, it's psychological. Money is psychological. Humans are emotional. Money is psychological. It's what we believe. We tell the stories. Life is a collection of 8 billion stories that we tell ourselves. That's it. That is all life is. One guy says, hey, I can put this building up. I can build it here. And the other guy says, no, I can't. The other guy doesn't even think about it. This guy has other problems in his life or whatever. It's a collection of stories we are telling ourselves day in and day out. I'm not worthy. I'm too worthy. I'm overconfident. I don't have much confidence. I'm decisive. I'm not decisive. I can't do this. I can do this. All it is, I can't get Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin's not going to work. Government's going to confiscate it. Newsflash. The government is a bunch of people. The government is downstream from culture. If the culture says, hey, guess what? Bitcoin is going to be the money of the world, and we're not going to pay taxes on it because it's money. And Bitcoin is what we're going to store our value in because fiat currencies rob and steal from us. Then guess what? The government dang well better get its stuff together, or else it won't exist very long. So we are the ones. We are the action takers. We are the ones that need to spread it. Vote with our wallet. Vote with our feet. Vote with our voice. Vote with our actions. Be the people. Be the people that we need to be in order to be that shining city on a hill, to exude what other people would like to be and how they would like to be in their life. And we will attract those people coming to us. That's why this is so incredibly important. We have to walk the walk. This is the virtuous loop versus the fiat doom loop. Here's the difference. We're almost done here. In fiat, everything runs away from you. Every expense gets bigger. Every bill grows heavier. Every paycheck buys less. That's the doom loop. But in Bitcoin, it's the opposite. Save in Bitcoin. You buy back your time. Your time makes you more creative. Creativity creates more value. Interesting. You can invent things. You can create businesses. And then you can stack even more Bitcoin. That's a positive loop upwards instead of the downward debt fiat doom loop. It's an incredible, incredible world we get to live in. A virtuous loop up and to the right. A cycle of freedom instead of a pit of despair, of slavery. So the thing we mentioned earlier too is one of the last things I want to mention is, and then we'll get into Q&A. Here's why urgency matters. Governments and banks are already gating funds, freezing accounts. Again, we just did a video on this the other day. You're seeing a lot more videos about this right now. You're seeing it all over the UK. You're seeing it in Thailand. You're seeing it in places all around the world. And I know some of them are they're bad accounts, or some of them are there's all kinds of whatever. But we don't know what the answers are, or we don't know what's actually happening or not. All we know is that we can guarantee, again, directionally correct, that these things will happen because again we know from first principle thinking that fiat currencies, we don't own them. If you have them in an app in your phone and you don't actually hold even the dollars, if you hold dollars in your safe, it doesn't matter because they're stealing it through inflation. So we know, therefore, they have to inflate. So we know Bitcoin's going to go up. It's inverse of an inflating dollar. It's a neutral money that captures deflation. So it's going to continue to get more valuable as they print more. We know they have to print more. And we know because they have to print more that they then have to do everything they can to bail out the system, to bail in the system, to gate people from leaving the system, capital controls. We see the citizenship taxes, estate taxes. We see, there's how many taxes do we pay? These are all things to try to pay for the system and paper over the system. This is only going to increase. And again, I can show, again, some of these, for those who might be just tuning in, that I shared before. We talked about this years ago, Blackstone freezing funds and limiting withdrawals. This was happening over and over again. People were still, one of my favorite videos I did here actually was they announced they were freezing funds or gating the funds, and then they still came and raised another round. Like it was just like another $1 billion was like, here you go, ready to rock. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. We have to get informed. We have to understand where we're going. This is just, it's absolute clown world that we're living in right now, but we have the answer. And again, it's putting it into our cold storage, putting it into our stamp seed, putting it into our mind, and then voting with our wallet, voting with our feet, voting with our voice, doing what we need to do in order to walk the walk, walk the talk. And again, this is already happening. We know it's going to continue happening. So from first principle thinking, they know the system is on tilt. They're buying time, hoping that you stay asleep. But again, once too many people step off the sinking ship, off the Titanic, there's no turning back and the whole thing goes down. So don't wait. Don't wait until the last moment. Don't be the last one scrambling for the Bitcoin lifeboat. And in summation, yes, Bitcoin is going to hit all-time highs again and again and again and again. You juxtapose that with the Bitcoin obituaries, just constantly saying that it's dead, it's going to die, it's going to die. But all of a sudden, it just keeps doing all-time highs. I mean, again, I just showed 2022. I remember being at the conference, the Pacific Bitcoin conference, and in 2022, and we were having the time of our lives as the FTX thing was blowing up and everything was going down. It's because when you root yourself in truth and you moor yourself in that bedrock foundation, your life gets exponentially better. You get more in your time and energy back to you. Then you get to do more fun things. I want that for every person. And that's what will continue going forward. Just because you weren't in 10 years ago doesn't mean you can't be in 10 years from now. So today is the day. Then you move forward, saving your time and energy in the hardest thing known to man. And then 10 years from now, you'll look back. You'll be the people of today that look back and said, wow, I'm glad I got in 10 years ago. And if you don't believe me, again, Bitcoin is at 2 trillion. There's 1 quadrillion in assets. That means we have 500x to go. It needs to account for all the dollars in the system. It is the hardest money known to man. So so people will be using Bitcoin in the future as the money, as the store of value, as the medium of exchange, and the unit of account. So that's why it's important, because there's 500x to go. And that is, fear and greed are the best marketing arms of Bitcoin. So I challenge you is protect your wealth, protect your time, protect your family. Bitcoin is the lifeboat. Cold storage is the car, and your conviction is the sail. Don't be the last one to grab a seat, because when the fiat ship finally goes under, the fiat Titanic goes under, the fiat debt-based legacy monetary Titanic, there is no second chance. Period. Appreciate you guys. Epic rip. Let's see. Let's see here. Where do you guys go? Appreciate you guys a ton. Beachy. Awesome stuff. Nilly. Appreciate you guys. Dougie. Love it. Any questions? If not, I will come up with a couple things here that we were thinking about the other day. People that they had questions the other day about stuff. So I can touch on a few of these things if we want. And I apologize. There's probably not super chats or anything like that as I'm figuring this out. But if there is, I'm sorry. Trying to really get my arms around getting better every time. It's the third live stream we've done on this, and I don't know why this thing's beeping. So we're getting better and better. Like I said, I've done Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives, all that stuff for years. But YouTube is just a different beast, more technical, obviously. Before you could just push live on a phone and do it. So want to try to get some of these. So some of these questions we had the other day. If Bitcoin's so perfect, why hasn't it gone to $1 million yet? Well, like we said earlier, it's $0. And I don't have who sent these the other day, or they were commenting on other videos. And I'll try to do it in the future. It's not at $1 million yet, because education is not there yet. Well, most people are on the hamster wheel all day long, spinning and spinning and spinning. They don't have time to jump off. And then when they do, they're so tired from working their fiat jobs, and inflation is ravaging them. They have to work 2 jobs or 3 jobs, and their wife's working, their husband's working, whatever. And then they have to jump off, and then they're so tired that they play with their kids for an hour, or they just want to relax and watch the game for an hour or two. Then they pass out, fall asleep, and go do it again. So no one has the time to actually figure out what's going on. This is why it takes a while. But in saying that, it's only been 16 years. 16 years, that's it. I mean, it took hundreds of years, 1,000 years for gold and silver to really reign as the preeminent store of value and money, here on Earth. So we have a pretty good track record to go on. It's been pretty fast because of social media, because of technology. So that's the big thing. And in the West, part of it too is apathy. We have to admit part of it is apathy as well. Um, People that have it pretty dang well. So it's tough to convince people that have done pretty well. And also on top of that, you have really the boomer generation, the silent generation have majority of the wealth, especially in America, in the West here. So you have a generation of people or two that did very well, and there's no reason for them to really change. Why change? Because I've done really well in the system. So humans are run on incentives. So even though kids or grandkids or whoever it is might be not doing as well, it's just hey, hustle harder, work harder. And there's merit to that, obviously, and people need to. But I think what the younger generations are seeing is, hey, no matter how hard I work, I can't work anymore. I'm only 24 hours in a day. I need to sleep 8 hours. There's 16 hours a day. I'm working 2 jobs, and all my time's up. And so then because I'm trying to just get by and hustle harder with 2 jobs, now I can't have a family. I don't have time. I can't find a spouse. I can't have kids. I don't even know if I want kids because I can't even afford them. Things are just a wreck. And then you look around the world and things are going on. So you can see how this cycle perpetuates and perpetuates. And that's what we're trying to break. We're trying to break that negative downward doom loop down the spiral. And as you throw the coin, like you have the little wishing well thing, but you throw the penny or the quarter in, and it starts circling the drain. It goes slow at first, and then as soon as it gets toward the drain, the black hole of abyss, it starts going faster and faster and faster, and things just seems like it's flying apart at the end. Well, that's kind of where we're at in society right now. So things are flying apart, and you can see it all over the place, all over social media, just on the news, and that will have to rectify itself. It's going to get worse before it gets better. But the beautiful part is we have hope, is we have the answers that are here. We've got Christ, but we all in the macro, in the ephemeral world, and then here on Earth we have the material world. We have Bitcoin, so it's an incredible pairing that we have. That humans are very grateful and blessed that we have that. Another one was, what about those who say Bitcoin doesn't hedge inflation? Obviously, again, it's kind of like goes to the last one. It had no price 16 years ago. Now it's $123,000 per Bitcoin. Clearly, it hedges inflation very well. It's up a million% or whatever. Inflation is basically, I'd say on average 10% a year over the last 15 years or 20 years, 10 years. So it's hedged it pretty dang well. And again, those are people that are high time preference. They're thinking very short term, and they're trying to just gamble all the time and get hot stock tips. That's why people think that way. So you have to zoom out. You have to. That's why money is psychological. We have to change the way we think. And Bitcoin will change you. You don't change Bitcoin. Bitcoin changes you, and it's continuing to change. It's changed me completely. It's changed many, many people I know, and it will continue to do that as it starts infecting the rest of society. They start thinking differently. I see it all the time. I see family, friends, people online. They're constantly being changed because they are in Bitcoin now, and they're thinking completely differently. They're down the rabbit hole now. They're thinking about money and finances. They're budgeting. They're doing all these things they never did before because of Bitcoin, because they actually have hope that, hey, you know what? If I study this thing, or if I actually save in this thing, I actually have future action. I actually keep it someday. It'll actually be there for me, instead of this thing that inherently, subconsciously, we know the dollars won't exist. So why study it? Why care about it? Why even do anything? So it's an incredible paradigm shift. How do we protect ourselves from crypto scams while pursuing sovereignty? Another great question. So the biggest thing, like we said earlier, is, again, we have to talk about our sponsors. The people that we love, they're Bitcoin only, made in America. The only wallet I know that's made in America, Bitcoin only. They have the ethos, privacy, open source. The Passport Core is, and the 12 and 24 word C plates are incredible. I mean, we shot pucks these things. We've done everything. We burned them, and so that's how you protect it. You get into Bitcoin, you study Bitcoin, and then you protect it. Those two things right there, everything you need. And then our friends of the Bitcoin Way, if you go there, you can also get a free consultation. One of our other sponsors, the Bitcoin Way, Brandon, my name, go there and you get a free consultation. Those guys are unbelievable. If you've ever seen Tony Yazbek speak, go to the channel here. There's like 90,000 views on our channel. And his story about being in Lebanon, his entire life being ripped out from under him, being rug pulled because the banks froze everything. The banks seized everything and froze everything. And he didn't have Bitcoin self-custody. He didn't have anything, but he started his company and now is incredibly successful and has an unbelievable story to tell. And he is the best person in the world and best speaker to talk about this subject and what's coming really for everyone. This is happening on a global scale. So that's how you protect from crypto scams. You're very careful of the emails and the texts you get, but you go to reputable sites from reputable Bitcoiners who are talking Bitcoin only out in the world and rooting themselves in truth and the moral foundations and fabrics of society, first principle thinking. And you go, you follow those people, and there's probably, there's probably a couple dozen around social media that are, really active or have, make content, things like that. And you go follow them, and you find that information to make sure you protect yourself from those crypto scams. But at the end of the day, all you need to really do is go buy Bitcoin, put it in self-storage, and put it on your stamp seed. That's it. That's all you need to do. And then in the description, you can see the links for everything as well. So go check those out. And is it safe to call Bitcoin spiritual or moral? Doesn't that invite backlash? And this is, again, I have a couple books I'm working on, and one of them is about this as well. And we're all spiritual beings. It's a moral imperative for Bitcoin to become global money. And I've told many people this too. The dollar is the mark of the beast because it's the global money. It's the mark on everyone, everything, everywhere. It's too big to fail. It's all these things. We already have the mark of the beast. The Bitcoin is, ironically, the most moral thing you can do. But the fiat itself breaks many of the 10 commandments. Thou shalt not steal. It makes you want to covet other people's things. Thou shalt not covet, others' possessions. On and on and on. This is the world we're living in. I mean, think about it. I mean, one of my buddies, Anders Jensen, a couple years ago, told me that, and I never thought of it that way. And I was just like blown away. I'm like, holy cow! I cannot believe that. I mean, just my very existence, fiat literally breaks almost half its existence. I mean, that is insane, absolutely insane. Thou shalt not steal. Well, they're robbing you. They're robbing you, right? So that's why this is so incredibly important. That's why it's a moral imperative. I appreciate you guys a ton. I'm gonna go find a couple. If you have any questions here, Bitcoin Kitty, what's up? Nilly, what's your best technique to orange pill a friend? By Nilly, my boy Nilly. Meet people where they are. Obviously, that's the biggest thing. Meeting people where they are and listening. That's the best thing that I can. It's the best thing. That's the best way that I can help someone orange pill someone. And when they're ready, throw a little out there, throw it out there at time and again. And then when people are ready, they'll come to you, and then meet them where they are. Talk to them, and hold their hand through it. And then again, the best thing to do sometimes is go to other content creators that are on, YouTube. Matthew Kreider is obviously an unbelievable resource. I've been watching Matthew Kreider for like 5 years. Incredible person. We're blessed to have him in our community, and especially in a time like this. And then go to people like the Bitcoin Way and go check them out, because these guys have the ethos. You got to find people with the right ethos. If people are gaslighting you all the time and telling you you're too stupid to do something, you probably shouldn't follow those people, whether it's in the Bitcoin community or somewhere else. You're the average of the 5 people you hang around with most. So be careful who you're hanging around with, who lifts you up and who drags you down. They always do say, work harder, Dougie. Always. Older generations do it. I mean, everyone's done it. I've done it. I remember 10 years or 15 years ago, I just thought people needed to hustle harder. Just like, be more entrepreneurial, bro. That was me. That was 25-year-old me, leaving professional hockey, and just need to be more entrepreneurial, bro. Like stop whining and complaining all the time. And then you realize, as you learn Bitcoin's the only thing that can help you see that last remaining 10 or 20% that's invisible to the average person. And you realize, whoa, you can't. It's impossible to really, truly get ahead at a global level. I mean, certain people can here and there because of resources they have or experience or situations they're in, right? But you can't overall. So, I love all this. Thanks, Beachy, for all these. This is great. And again, I appreciate you guys being on here, Stun. Thank you for saying I like your style. Thank you for not overwhelming us with hand waving. I know I do that sometimes, so I apologize, Beachy. We are early to this game, and soon people will be trying just to get 1 million Satoshis. Yeah, I mean, some people will eventually be trying to get 100 Satoshis. Literally 100 Satoshis, 1,000 Satoshis. There's only 242,000 Satoshis per person on Earth. 21 million or 8 billion divided by 21 million. So that's where we're at. Get to 1 million Satoshis, get to 0.01 Bitcoin, get to 0.1 Bitcoin, get to 10 million Satoshis, get there, do what you can. Like they say, sell your chair, sell everything you can, put it all in marketplace, get what you don't need out of your life, get the clutter out of your life and turn it into the hardest money on earth, and put it in self-storage, put it in your seed plate, to put it in titanium, and then wake up in 10 years. Hopefully you join us in the fight a little bit here though also, and help us move this forward faster. Because again, Politics is downstream from culture. We're going to talk about this much more because it's something I'm so passionate about. And the faster, it's a 1 second decision for every human on earth to choose a money that doesn't steal from them. If we don't get this, if we don't understand this, then I don't know what to tell you. So let me stop sharing this. I didn't realize I was still sharing this. So sorry, guys. Been self-employed my entire adult life, so I learn not to be dependent on any government institution. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. You have to. Fired by 2 banks. Yeah, it's incredible stuff, guys. I appreciate you a ton. If there's no more questions, I don't see any more. Like I said, I'm still learning the software and what in the world is actually happening with it. So I appreciate you guys a ton. We're going for 40 minutes, about twice the amount of time that I wanted to go. So I appreciate you guys so incredibly much. And throw me any questions last second if you would like to do that. But again, like I said, go check our sponsors out. They're incredible people. I wanted to find the people that had the same ethos that I did. And so I feel very blessed to have really all my first picks. I mean, all my first picks are the people that said yes, right away this year when I went to them. So I just appreciate that so much. So check all the sponsors out below, whatever you need. Feel free to send me DMs, whatever, if you're looking for something. And even if you don't, I mean, even if you don't use Stampseed, or if you don't use Foundation, go get yourself a cold storage wall. I mean, make sure it's open source. I mean, there's the handful that are open source, but they're all different. They all have trade-offs. So make sure you're going and doing that. Have to do that. It's absolutely paramount. So check the one we just did a video with Paul from Primal. Amazing. Runs Primal on Nostr. If you want free speech, if you care about free speech, which again, everyone else should as well. Incredible video. We just put up, I think it was yesterday. We have one with George Bodine, Mr. Bodine, coming out that is incredibly fiery, talking about Bitcoin core versus not, what's going on. Will Bitcoin exist? Will we kill it ourselves? Because Bitcoin is inevitable, but only if we keep it as freedom money, and is only if we stay involved and stay plugged in. So that's going to be an incredible episode. And last time we had 70,000 people tuned in to join our channel. I don't know if we're going to hit it this time. We'll see. Some of this stuff is not, we're down the rabbit hole a tiny bit. So I don't know how much the average person is going to care about that, but we'll see. We'll see. So go check those out, those videos. Go check out the sponsors in the video as well. Send me your questions in the future. And we look forward to seeing you on the podcast tomorrow. Go check that out, the comments there. And anywhere, the DMs, Brandon_Gentile is the YouTube and the Twitter, and Nostr tag is in here as well, the Primal link. So go check that out. Message me anywhere with thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, and hopefully we'll lead you in the right direction. And I look forward to seeing you guys soon. If you want more live streams, again, let me know, please. That's the last thing here. Let me know. And thinking about doing much more of them going forward. So I appreciate you guys a ton. Make it a great Friday. We'll see you on the next one.